Joining me now is Leo Holman. Leo just had a stunning interview with David Pine, kind of scary. Basically, he's saying President Trump has to be very careful to make sure that Iran is not coaxing him and goading him into war to weaken us further, which would give their ally China a chance to move against Taiwan. And of course, then you have China and Iran working together either through cyber or EMP to bring down America, and we're toast, we're done. And he says that he thinks there's a 25% chance or so, that 25% chance around there that China might move on Taiwan this spring, but he thinks there's a considerable chance they might move on Taiwan before the year is over, particularly before the United States and Russia can hammer out some kind of closer relationship and deal. He talked about the fact that people better get ready because there won't be a federal government if we go to World War III. There won't even be time to have a draft. What are your thoughts on what David has said tonight? He referenced, by the way, your new article.
Yeah, in which I stated that from my perspective, looking at the negotiations with Trump and Putin today and just all of what was leading up to it, the back and forth with Ukraine. First, we kick them out of the White House and tell them to go home, and the pouting of Zelensky, but then he apologizes and Trump says, okay, I'll continue. He apologizes like Trump asked him to, like a good little boy, and then Trump restores funding and weapons shipments to Ukraine. But now we have the strange scenario where Trump seems to be negotiating with just one of the two parties, Russia, while funding the other party that's not present in the negotiations, that being Ukraine. And so given all of this bizarre activity, I still place the chances of World War III breaking out, Brannon, under Trump's watch at greater than 50%. Now, that may sound horrible, but if Kamala Harris had been elected, I put the chances of World War III at nearly 100%, probably around 99%. So we're still better off. I'm not totally complaining, but at the same time, I'm very concerned at what I see going down in these negotiations. It just seems very unstable from one day to the next. There was no ceasefire agreed to today in the phone conversation between Putin and Trump, but they did agree to work towards a ceasefire. Both agreed that a ceasefire is desirable and would work towards it, and they would start with a ceasefire on attacks among the two countries' energy infrastructure. So I guess the ball is moving down the field, but not very quickly, and my concern is that time is on the globalist side. And in my article, I point out, I lay out the globalist strategy to destabilize the world and plummet it into World War III by utterly destroying normal relations between the world's two greatest nuclear superpowers, that being Russia and the United States. As I said, they were well on their way to accomplishing that with 100% accuracy under the Biden-Harris regime. Trump has thrown a wrench in the deal, but I'm afraid he could just be slowing it down. I hope that's not the case.
And of course, David and I talked about the number of people that would die in such a war between Iran and China, and Iran using some of their missiles, ballistic missiles, to go after our military bases. And then he talked about 2 satellites, at least 2, by Iran circling over the U.S. with a nuclear weapon on board from EMP. You add that to the 2 that circle us by North Korea. And again, we're in a much more dangerous situation than the country knows. Interesting 100%. Is so many people say America's so back, we're so back, and they're all going on with their life. I'm still prepping. I'm adding to my prepper plans every week. Every week I'm doing something new to resupply or add to my prepper plans, where the average conservative in America, even the average conservative political junkie, they're not paying attention to what we're paying attention to. And if they are, they don't understand what they're seeing. And so those who aren't preparing because Trump got elected, you don't understand what's happening here.
Not at all, Brandon. You're exactly right. And let's not forget that that is one of the primary goals of the globalists. When I say the globalists, I'm talking about those who subscribe to the whole Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum, Green New Deal, climate change agenda. Which also includes the UN Agenda 2030. And that is to depopulate the world. And so that is one of the main reasons they are pushing so hard to trigger World War III. And the best way to do that, as I said, is to destroy the relations between the world's two most feared nuclear superpowers, the United States and Russia. If we can get those two countries to go at each other, the globalist figure, we have the best chance of triggering World War III and a huge, massive depopulation of the world in combination with vaccines, bioengineered plagues, which we saw with COVID. They have several others on the shelf that they could roll out simultaneously with the war agenda, and they would accomplish their main goal, which is to depopulate the world and instill greater, tighter controls on the remaining population.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Okay, so I mentioned the Deagle report to David, and I'm like, David, what you're laying out to me sounds like the Deagle report and depopulating the world, the planet. You got like 77% gone from Europe, 68.5% gone from America. I mean, and yet this is what you're looking at if we go to World War III. If these countries decide to attack Europe, you know, London's gone, a lot of these cities are gone. If they decide to bring us down with a cyber attack in America for months on end, or an EMP, no, this is what we're talking about. So the Deagle report put out by the military-industrial complex is still in play. For those who don't know what the Deagle report is, are they forgotten? This isn't just some crazy conspiracy group. This is the military-industrial complex and DARPA doing this back in 2014, right?
Right, and they predicted that by the end of 2025, we would see these massive depopulation figures, which you can't really imagine happening short of having just a horrendous world war. And people keep talking. People in America on both sides of the aisle, your liberal Democrats, your neocon conservatives, they all want President Trump to be tougher on Russia, and they'll always throw out the example, of Neville Chamberlain before World War II. He was too appeasing towards Hitler, and he waived that peace in our time agreement, the peace pact he'd signed with Hitler, and how that led to the breakout of World War II. What they don't realize is we live in a different time, in a different era, with totally different dynamics in play now than in 1933 or 38, whenever, I don't know the exact date of that Chamberlain document, but we have a completely different set of dynamics geopolitically today. We did not have a world with multiple countries in possession of nuclear weapons back then. The United States was on the cusp of reaching that in the 1930s, and was the only country that by the 1943-44 had actually achieved the world's first nuclear weapon. That is worlds different than the situation today, where you have massive nuclear arsenals in possession of more than two countries, several countries, but especially the United States and Russia, have just thousands of these weapons. And so we have enough firepower, nuclear firepower on the earth today to destroy this planet several times over. And yet you hear people still talking as if we're in 1935 or 1940, Brandon. It really is surprising to me how many smart people, especially in the conservative side, don't seem to realize what the stakes are.
Indeed, they don't. Okay, so I guess that's about it, unless you want to add something else to it before I switch to another topic real quick.
That's pretty much it on that topic, Brandon.
All right, so we apparently have now the JFK files being released, here we go, March 18th, 2025. Now they've started to release some of them, and as they do this, they're going to put these entries in here. There'll be more and more, and of course, it's going to take a while to go through all of these. It's like 80,000 pages. I mean, I could just pick a random PDF and see what it is. I mean, again, it is going to take a long time to go through this. I asked Grok today if Grok was going to be able to tell me what was in them, and Grok said, I will, when they get up on the National Archive website, I'll go through them and I'll try to give you bullet points. So we'll see what Grok comes up with, but there you go. What are your thoughts tonight on the JFK files? I guess 80,000 pages being released as we go through these right here live on the air.
So all 80,000 have been already released this evening?
Well, it looks like it. I mean, unless someone can tell me otherwise.
Because I was reading somewhere, I read somewhere less than an hour ago that they were delaying some of them indefinitely. So,
well,
I don't know what to believe right at this point, Brandon, but it will take time. If it's going to take time for Grok, it's going to take time for human eyes to go through and assess exactly what's been released here. But my concern is that they're still not going to have all of them released, and that it's still going to be, pick your conspiracy theory of choice, because we don't have all the information. And when you don't have all the information, that leaves it open to, pretty much anyone's interpretation as to what could have actually happened that led to the death of President John F. Kennedy on that day in November of 1962.
Indeed. Well, I also have read that they're still uploading them, that it being 80,000 files, is taking them a while to get them all uploaded. So some of these, like this is supposedly 1998, May 15th, 1998. So
did I say 62? I meant 63. Yeah.
Yeah. But I went ahead and went to the end, but I don't know if this is the end. They may be adding more as they continue going in here. But there's a lot. There's already a lot to look at.
Yeah.
So do you think anything will come of it? Some people are saying this is all a head fake. There's not going to be anything in here. What do you think?
Well, and somebody are saying that, since they've delayed it so long, even Trump now has been off. He promised to do this, but he's been in office for over 2 months now, and we're just starting to get them released. And so, and then there was that whole snafu with the FBI hiding certain documents. So, excuse me, there's always going to be concern that maybe the most bombshell documents are being held back, and that what we actually end up will be some, nothing burger. I hope that's not the case, Brandon, and that we actually find out, not only what documents were withheld, but why they were withheld. Many of them were even withheld from the Warren Commission. So, how could the Warren Commission make a good and accurate investigative finding without all of the information? And so, because of that, nobody's ever believed the official government narrative. So I'm afraid if we don't come up with something that shifts the official government narrative, people are going to be considering this just another government whitewash.
And then any comment on Chief Justice John Roberts today related to his thoughts about not impeaching these judges? We got these rogue judges trying to tell Trump how to run national security.
Yeah, well, he basically rebuked the Trump administration, if I understand it correctly, Brandon.
Yep, you're right.
Well, I'd like to know, where was the statement from Chief Justice Roberts when Chuck Schumer stood on the steps of the Supreme Court back in 2020 and said that, Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch were going to pay the price and reap a whirlwind if they did not vote in favor of abortion on demand in all 50 states? I don't remember any rebuke coming from the Chief Justice back then. So, yes, in a way, he's correct. We should just let the appellate process play out, as he said, rather than have, another branch of government, whether it be Congress or the executive, putting pressure on the Supreme Court. But on the other hand, it seems like the pressure until Donald Trump, the pressure only comes from the left side of the aisle.
Mm-hmm. And then, Leo, we've got, of course, the rolls from this video. We've got a bunch of pro-Hamas folks out in the streets in New York. That video coming in this evening from earlier. Isn't it interesting that we have all of these illegals here still? So many of them, barely any of them been removed. Thankful for the ones that have, but barely any. Still lots of CCP here, Hezbollah, Hamas, and then who knows how many students who are born and raised here have been radicalized and will become jihadis off the college campuses. So all of this, as America looks to perhaps confront Iran, and of course, then that would mean really confronting China, who's in a relationship with them. I mean, we are in a spot most Americans, I'll say this again, we're in a spot most Americans do not understand. They say ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is deadly, to be honest with you, because if any of this materializes to any serious degree, most Americans are not ready for the disruption in our infrastructure and just-in-time inventory.
Oh, you are so correct about that, Brandon. And I read so much lately in the conservative media about how, the Democrats are in disarray. The Democratic Party is collapsing. The Democratic Party has no leader. They're in total disarray. Well, while all that might be true, it boggles my mind how they refuse to look at the big picture. We still have a judicial branch that is striking down, it seems like every other day in a new court case, striking down an element of the Trump agenda. So we may not need a viable Democrat Party. We have these radical activist judges to do the work for them. They're completely blocking a large part of the Trump agenda. Yesterday, it was a case where they were, or the day before, a judge appointed by Barack Obama was literally telling Trump to turn the planes around in midair and not deport these criminal, illegal gangbangers from Venezuela who are going around murdering people, selling drugs, human trafficking, and we have a single federal judge saying Trump can't deport them. That boggles my mind. And now today there was another federal judge, also appointed by Barack Obama, Brandon, who ruled that Trump cannot pick apart and cannot take down USAID and cannot end all of the contracts and basically put that slush fund out of business. That liberal left-wing slush fund can continue on now. They can't rehire the ones who have already been fired from that agency. But he cannot undo the USAID policies and agenda. This is a federal judge telling President Trump what he can and cannot do with a federal agency. Unbelievable. Yeah.
And also we have this tonight as well. Russia launches one of the largest suicide drone attacks against the of the war. They have hit the energy infrastructure in Slavinsk, causing near total blackout in the city. So I don't know. I thought we had.
Well, maybe that was one last big hit against the Ukrainian energy infrastructure before he agreed to a ceasefire on that particular type of attack.
Yeah, they're saying part of the city without electricity, local channels, immediate ceasefire across all energy sectors is working. So I don't know. This is all fluid, as we know. So
yes,
we'll keep you posted. As always, Leo, great job. We're going to push people to go to your new article at leoholman.substack.com, leoholman.substack.com. So thank you, Leo.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, there you go, folks. Another long format interview with Leo. You want to keep it going, keep this format. I need your support. Where's my foundation page? There it is. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Come on, folks. Let me check the donations tonight when I get off the air and see something, please. We need to see something. We need to have a big week this week, folks. We've got a lot of bills that have come in. We need a big week this week so we keep this format going, long format interviews, and just cranking out the content for you. Going longer than normal tonight, folks. Going longer than normal. I pre-recorded an interview with Twyla Braze and with Tom DeWeese because not everybody wants to stay up as late as I do. But folks, I'm putting in a lot of hours to bring you this content each and every day, plus Worldview Radio, plus Worldview Report, plus all the other shows I sponsor here. I got to bring in over $40 grand a month to keep it all going, folks. Worldviewfoundation.com.